spin.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
That's no move.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the Star Wars Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
And Kenton, there's a little Star Wars news this week regarding former Doctor Who actor, I guess Crown as well. He's probably more well-known for The Crown now, Matt Smith.
Yeah. A podcaster interviewed him, and I watched the clip on YouTube. And Matt Smith said, and we were all wondered, like, what's he going to play in The Rise of Skywalker? We wondered because we heard that he'd been signed, remember?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And he said, well, he goes, yeah, I went and I talked to them, and they had a pivotal thing that I was going to do that was going to change Star Wars forever. And then they never called me.
And he wouldn't give any more detail than that?
No. And then, in fact, the podcaster's screen freezes. And he's like, this is the worst time for that to happen. And then he comes back and he's just kind of bemused about it. Matt Smith. It's funny. It's a funny interview. And he looks much younger than what I thought he was based on his roles. I
was a little confused about that. As I said, I just saw him in Last Night in Soho, and his love interest in that is Anya Taylor-Joy. Anya, you know, the one from the chess show, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think she's much younger than him, so I have a bit of an issue with that. But I think he's in his late 30s, right? Late 30s, early 40s, maybe.
He looks younger in this video than I've ever seen him look before. So I mean, that's something we could check, but it's interesting because I think. I actually think, like, and all the rumors were that he was going to play either a guy possessed by the spirit of Palpatine or young Palpatine, maybe in flashbacks, or Palpatine something, I think. And probably that points to them finding out at the last minute that they could get the actual guy who played the Emperor. I wonder if there's some degree, remember that? Like, maybe there's some degree of that. They were going to have him as a younger man because he'd been cloned.
Well, that would have made more sense.
It might have been better. It might have been better.
You know,
He does kind of look like Palpatine.
I mean, with all that makeup that they put on Ian McDiarmid, anybody could be Palpatine with that much makeup on, right?
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, that would have been cool. I kind of like that idea.
I think that's where they were going with it. And when he says it could have changed Star Wars forever, it's like, what else could they've done? Like, the clone of Palpatine would have had that effect, particularly if Palpatine would have lived at the end of the movie. That could have changed. That could have brought us into like another 3 movies.
Exactly.
After that, probably.
Yeah.
So that would make the most sense. But I've definitely seen people floating other theories online and stuff. But I think it has to have been young Palpatine or guy possessed by Palpatine, one or the other.
Interesting. Well, either of those, and they have kind of explored those ideas in some of the comic books. The Dark Empire series, as we've talked about before, had that device where the Empire had clones of his own bodies and was transferring his spirit into those bodies. So yeah, that's interesting. Well, I mean, like we've already said this, we'll never know, and we have the movie we have. So, and we'll talk a little bit more at the end of this. I do want to do our rewatch. We'll talk more about the organization because I've got a new plan that I'm going to pitch to you. But before we get to that, of course, that was not the only Star Wars news this week. There was a big Star Wars. I texted you frantically, Book of Boba Fett trailer, and you're like, really? And that was the. That's how I imagine. That's how I imagine your voice sounded when you texted me that. Really? So yeah, the Book of Boba Fett trailer dropped.
I was blown away I was not expecting it at all. I had been in a class. So I finished the class. It wasn't even on my radar. I had no idea that was a possibility that day. So it was very excited to see that was real.
But you had said at some point, I remember saying that we should have had a trailer by now. Like it was overdue. It was like, come on, like we're only we're a month away, at least 2 months, I guess, almost 2 months away from the series. So we should have had a trailer before now.
Yeah, I mean, and even the trailer we got is light on details. It's light on lots of things.
Well, yeah.
It gives us quite a bit. It gives us lots, but it doesn't give us the lots we were expecting.
Exactly. We are going to watch it just to get the awesome audio on the podcast, but also to see if we can pick out any more details. I've made some notes. You've made some notes, but let's watch it together one more time and see if we can see anything else.
I am not a bounty hunter. I've heard otherwise.
know that you sit on the throne of your former employer.
Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect.
You were all once captains under Jabba the Hutt.
I'm here to make a proposal that's mutually beneficial. Why speak of conflict when cooperation can make us all rich?
What prevents us all from killing you and taking what we want?
If you had spoken such insolence to Jabba, he'd have fed you to his menagerie.
Please, speak freely.
Speak freely, Kenton.
Oh, we know what that means. That means you're going to get fed to whatever is now below.
Is that right? You think that he's not going to be as gracious as, or is he going to be just like Jabba, or is he going to be a nicer crime boss, as he seems to say in this trailer?
Well, how can he be a nicer crime boss?
I don't know.
I think he's I'll rule by respect, but that's like Tony Soprano ruled by respect,
right?
And killing people. And I think the one goes with the other. So I don't buy it, and especially given the other footage that we see in this. I mean, we see him cracking some skulls in this trailer. So I don't, there's going to be some good action and some good fighting, and I think some good bounty hunting. I think.
Oh, but he says he's not a bounty hunter at the beginning of the trailer. We
shall see.
Well, what was some of the first thing that I noticed? Obviously, it's the first shot in the trailer we have. It starts off on Jabba's palace, right? That is definitely Jabba's palace, and what appears to be a little spider droid, which is kind of like a little version of the big one that we saw in Jabba's palace back in Return of the Jedi.
I would say it's the same one. That's
okay.
Bomar Monk. I had the figure. Bomar Monk is a spider with a little head fluid sac.
Yeah. And but there's more than one. Wasn't that an order of monks that were living there or something?
Oh, interesting. No, I don't
remember. I'm not going to look it up. I'm going to resist the urge to Google.
Monk is actually a monk, or is just a spider with the name Monk?
Right. I can't remember. That's just a very, very faint thing. That's just, I don't know. I will look up that stuff later. But anyway, that's definitely a callback to the Return of the Jedi. If it's not the same character, it's one of those characters or a similar type of person, right?
But I think what I like about that is it sets the scene. Like that was a famous mail away figure for Kenner.
Was it?
Yeah, that was one of the ones that you got in the mail. You had to put the legs on them, and then the little clear thing on them. And so I think that's why, if people know it's Bomar Monk, that's why they know it. I've seen people online going like, no, this is from the drawing from episode 1. It's like, no, it's not. It's the same spider that was in Jabba's palace, or of the same kind, but we see Jabba's palace. So I think what I think that this tips its hat to is the idea that everything that survived in Jabba's palace for Return of the Jedi is on the table here. That yes. I think that we could see anybody from that scene who was not on the sail barge, or maybe
some who are. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Right. We know that Bib Fortuna is alive. He got off somehow, and so that's you're right, absolutely, and that's exciting to me. I mean, this is literally a sequel to Return of the Jedi. That is what we're talking about here. It's so good.
Yes,
I'm so excited. Goal. Okay, what's next? I'm not a bounty hunter. He is, but did you notice? Look what it's handing him his helmet here, Kenton, on this side. Do you see that?
Is that a pit droid?
It's a pit droid. You got it. From episode 1, pit droid handing him his helmet.
Amy Sedaris, friend of Amy Sedaris.
Well, we assume she owns the only pit droids left in Tatooine. And I have an issue with one thing that's bothered me since we saw Boba Fett come back during The Mandalorian, and he polished up his arm. He got his armor back from Corn on the Cob, polished it up, I thought he gave it a new paint job, but maybe he just cleaned it because it still seems to be scratched. And there's just a big old dent in his noggin, in his head. on the helmet. Why doesn't he like buff that out? What do you think? Is it a battle scar that he wears with pride? Do you think?
Okay, I actually think he had done that in the Mandalorian, and I think this is a new dent.
Oh, it's a new dent. Oh, interesting.
That's what I think.
Okay.
Well, that's what I think, because wasn't it? I actually watched, in advance of us talking, I watched the end scene from the Mandalorian where you see him take the throne.
Oh yes.
It's so dark. It's so hard to see it actually in that scene. I thought it'd be easier to see, but I'm pretty sure that he fixed up his armor. I think it was all clean again, I think.
Interesting.
Mandalorian. So I think this might come after some big battle he's had.
Somebody's knocked him in the noggin and put a dent there. Interesting.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
so.
It could be. You're right. What else?
Lucasfilm logo all Boba Fetted out.
Was it? I didn't notice that.
I think it is.
Oh yeah, it is. You're right. It's got Boba Fett colors. Yeah. And the theme music, by the way, that is the Boba Fett theme from the Mandalorian. I looked it up. I did actually I did a little TikTok video about this trailer, and I looked on TikTok. The music was there, so I was able to use it. So it's very cool.
No way.
Yeah.
That's solid. I was wondering about that. I was wondering who scored this. That's great.
It's really it's this kind of it's a really good theme. I really like it.
Yeah, I like.
And I'm glad that Boba Fett has finally got his own theme song because he needed it. He's never had it. What else?
Oh, well, what do you think about? I was going to ask you more Tatooine. What do you think? Are you ready for more Tatooine, or you want him to get the hell off this?
Yeah, I'm done with. I mean, although we didn't spend a ton of time on Tatooine and the Mandalorian, but honestly, these planets are all kind of starting to blur together for me at this point. Like it's kind of like they're all kind of looking the same. So I mean, it's fine. It's just as good as any other time. But it would be good to see it at a different place. But this has to take place on Tatooine because it's Jabba's palace and it's Boba Fett. So it makes sense for this story. I think the next one, like certainly, if they find some way to bring Cassian Andor to Tatooine, I'm going to cry foul on that one. But this is fine.
Yeah, at first I was sort of thinking like, oh no, not Tatooine again. But the more scenes that I see, I think we're seeing some other parts. Remember Luke Skywalker said you can get a lift to Anchorhead?
Yes.
Maybe that's what this is. I don't know.
Well, we see a shot of it. Is that meant to be Mos Eisley, that shot of the city at the beginning?
I don't think so. I don't think that's, well, is it? Let's see again.
Hold on, I'm looking for it. There it is.
Oh, there. Yeah. It's in a crater. That's not Mos Eisley.
No way. Different. Maybe it is Anchorhead, right?
Not much. Like they talk about it in Star Wars, like it's a major port. So maybe that's what we are looking at here.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not even Tatooine.
Could be. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, like honestly, this stuff is going to be cut together from all different episodes, so there's not going to be any consistent. There's a couple like core scenes in this trailer that you could tell, they're not giving anything away. Like there's this one where he's got his helmet off, and it appears that he's going to have his helmet off a lot in this show.
Oh, it looks. Yeah, I think once again you're paying the actor, and so you better take that helmet off so you can show everybody it's you.
And he spent enough years with the helmet on, although he did take it off in the prequels as well, right? I'm sure he did.
As
Django. Yeah, that's what I mean. As Django. Yes, yeah, he did take it off. So there you go. So he has a
callback. We're getting a callback to Django's death.
There we go. Yeah. What else?
What's the next scene? Is it the helmet?
Well, no, next scene, I mean, it looks like he's gathering together the old crew. He's getting the band back together, or he's looking at all these. They're all Jabba's cronies. I don't think these are that we talked about last episode. We talked about him getting like the gang back together as far as the other bounty hunters from Empire Strikes Back. This is not that. These are just guys that worked with Jabba, or it says you were all once captains under Jabba. So I don't know,
well,
lower people.
These are Bosk creatures, so we might see a Bosk. We might see a reunion with Bosk since I
think we saw those guys in the Mandalorian too, didn't we? At the early couple episodes.
Did we?
I think so. One of the bounty hunters that were after the child at the beginning.
And also Walrus Man.
Yep. Oh yeah. All these guys.
Man species, bum face.
Ponda Baba species. So it's very clear from this that he's looking to not necessarily take over, but form a new mob or gang or whatever you want to call it, get everyone together. Cooperation could be mutually beneficial, right? He's trying to get them all on board with this. And they say, of course, what's to stop us from killing you? And then Fennec Shan says, Jabba would have you feeded to this menagerie, whatever she says. I didn't see a menagerie. I only ever saw the one thing he had down there, the Rancor. But I guess he must have had other animals too, right? After the Rancor died.
I would love to know what the menagerie is, and we'll probably see something in the menagerie.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's setting something up.
The menagerie has been left untended for 30 years. Oh, no. So this is only 5 years, right? This is 5 years after Return. This is 5 years the menagerie's been left untended. So they've probably taken over the place for all we know. So there you go. So he's like convincing these guys to form a gang. We're going to assume that he's, somewhat successful, and then there's probably resistance. He's got to fight them. But what's the ultimate goal? Is it just greed? Is it just for money? Or do you think he's going to have other motivations in this series beyond that?
I have some theories about that, but it's going to, let's leave them to the end, because what I'm about to suggest will make people mad.
Okay. That sounds good.
I can think of a couple things where this could go.
Is this going to make me mad? That's my question.
Could.
Okay, we'll see.
Yes,
I don't think I'll get mad about anything, but I might get
one of them for sure is definitely on shaky ground. By the way, you just had the Twi'leks up there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll put it back to the Twi'leks. Yeah. There we go.
I found out today that's Jennifer Beals from Flashdance.
Is it really?
Apparently
so.
It
is too. That's awesome. Good for her.
I know.
It's like every celebrity who's ever wanted to be in Star Wars is now coming out of the woodwork to be in Star Wars, right?
Ooh. For a second, that guy next to her, I never noticed him before. I thought that was Corn on the Cob himself sitting next to her. But it's not Cobb.
It looks like that guy Peter. What's his name from Ghostbusters? He played the guy with the accent in Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Kind of looks like him. Anyway, all right. So yeah, well, let's hear. Okay, so let's just go quickly through the rest of it. We see, some shots of them sitting at the table. We see the Twilight girls talking about them. Maybe they'll have a bigger role in it. Then there's some good shots of the ship. We got Slave.
The underworld.
Yeah.
Okay, this shot of the helmet hitting with the money coming out, that is a callback to Jango Fett's
yes,
decapitated.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, and there's money in it. So why is his helmet full of money? And then there's some kind of a conflict. You can tell they're showing this out of context, because in this shot the shields are already open. And then in the next one, we see them open up their shields. So they're showing that in a little bit of out of order there. But anyway.
Yep. And his helmet's off. His
helmet's off in this shot. Yeah.
He stole their money. I don't know. Something happened.
I like the shields. The shields look cool. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that in Star Wars before, like a personal shield that they just hold like that. That's kind of neat.
That is cool.
Let's see what else. And then we have, I think it's just like back to that. And then, then you see him like just go crazy. And the look on his eyes is like, no, he just looks like this is him letting everything go.
He's kicking more ass.
Yeah.
So that's good. And you can hear the bone crushing blow of his.
Yeah.
weapon.
This is his expression when he kills people. I kind of want him to keep the helmet on.
Because he looks like a maniac.
he looks insane. Yeah, that's not a good look. Anyway, well, maybe it is for him, right? So
it is for him. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's pretty much it. And then we see, it's just that last scene where they say Jabba would have your da-da-da, and he's like, speak freely, and that's it, pretty much. And then we have the logo come up and blah blah blah. So let's hear this theory.
Okay, I got a couple here. Well, okay, so we do get that call back to Jango Fett's decapitation, his father's decapitation at the hands of Mace Windu. This is the part that's going to make you mad. What if Mace Windu is still alive and he is going to get revenge on Samuel L. Jackson for killing his pappy?
Oh, well, that would be well, it's not making me mad. I mean, only because you won't let this go.
I know, that's right.
You will never ever let that go. And honestly, I kind of want it to happen just so you'll shut up about it. Let's just hope that they do that, just so that finally, there you go, Kenton. Mace Windu. I mean, Sam Jackson is I think he's easing out of the Marvel stuff at this point. Like, I think he's pretty much done with that. So he needs another regular gig. So he should get back into the Star Wars stuff for sure. That would hold him over for a couple of years, I think, if he comes back to the Star Wars universe. It's not completely unheard of. I don't say it's impossible. It is possible for sure.
And of course I knew that, I know I never stopped talking about it, which is why it would drive everybody crazy if I mentioned it, but also I don't think it would happen this season. I think if they were to come back and do another season, that could certainly be a place, like he would want to get vengeance on him. The second thing that I was going to suggest is we've seen a de-aged Luke Skywalker from this era. Luke, Han Solo, Chewie, that whole gang, like was there to knock him into that Sarlacc pit. Could we see a de-aged Harrison Ford make an appearance? Could it happen? It's possible.
Sure, anything's possible.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Or Alden Ehrenreich.
Yeah, that's more probable, I think.
Yeah.
I would rather go that way because actually, I never did get around to the clickbait that I was going to talk about, but the clickbait is that the villain, some people are speculating the villain will be Kira, aka Han Solo's girlfriend from Solo, right? Who the mother of dragons, and I can't remember her name. I'm blanking on her name. Anyway, they're saying she might be the villain. She could still be around, which makes sense because the actor's still around, right? And they could bring her into it. I don't know if I like that as much, but that is one possibility. So I don't think it's completely unheard of what you're suggesting there.
No, like the places that they could take it, like now that we've seen how the Mandalorian works, where it's some of the episodes sort of like feel sort of confined and intimate, and other ones feel like they're a grand scale, like major happenings kind of thing. I do think that I'd be surprised if the Book of Boba Fett doesn't give us one storyline or thread or ends on something that we all recognize to be like a pivotal Star Wars moment that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if it's one of those things. If one of those things somehow, or even Chewbacca, where you could.
Oh, I think that would be a definite possibility, and that would fans would be happy with Chewbacca for sure. They would love that.
I think it's possible. I think it's possible.
That's true. Speaking of de-aging, the other thing that I think we might see is some flashbacks to Boba Fett's childhood, because we don't know what happened to him after his father was killed by Mace Windu, and a last shot we have of him as a child is him holding his father's head in his hands. So what happened after that? I think this series is going to tell that story in pieces, right? We're gonna have flashbacks, and we can have flashbacks because he plays his own father. It's the same actor who plays the father. So just de-age him back to what he looked like in the early 2000s, and have another kid play young Boba Fett, and then you're good to go. Like they could definitely do that.
They might actually have some footage left over.
Sure, yeah, I'm sure they do. Yeah,
like that's the other thing that I always think about. Like, imagine all the footage they've got that nobody's ever seen, like that. And I assume that Disney gets all of that as well.
Oh, sure, yeah. It's all somewhere at Lucasfilm. Yeah,
yeah. So that would be interesting too. Like I don't know. I'd sort of be curious to see how they do that. The other element is the Sarlacc pit, where I actually thought the trailer would take us. Would hint in some way, show him inside the Sarlacc pit, show him maybe taking the first step out, showing something in terms of how he got out of there. Don't you think we'll see that?
I think we will, but not in the first episode and not in the trailer. I think they're going to save it. I think it's going to be something like he's got to go back there to get something. Something fell out of his pocket and he has to go back there to get it. And so he has to revisit the Sarlacc and climb back in and get his something. I don't know. I'm just joking, but you know what I mean? Like that's going to be, it will be one episode of a story similar to the way they did that. What was the big monster again in the Mandalorian last season? They had the sand, I want to say sandworm, but it's not a sandworm. It's called the Crate Dragon, right? They called it the Crate Dragon. So that thing was kind of a callback to the original movie because they had the skeleton in the original movie. So it'll be something like that, where it's like, we're going to go visit the Sarlacc, kids. And
so you think, but are we going to see the flashback where he gets out of there after?
Yes, I do think that. Yes. Yeah, I think that they will show us we'll see his gauntleted hand come out and like, on the edge of the thing. And then, yeah, we'll see that, I'm sure, at some point.
He's been burned badly by acid and stuff, so we can expect that he's had to fight his way out.
Yeah.
And the Jawas have his armor, so we've seen that. So something like he's probably the acid is burning through the armor, and he's got to get it off. So he
just left it on the desert. Yeah, he just left it on the ground, and they grabbed it. Yeah,
something. It'd be very interesting. And the other thing is, Bib Fortuna, did he, like, what's the story there? Why did he kill him? The second he saw him, just put him out of his misery?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Like, did anything happen after the Sarlacc?
Oh, for sure. There's got to be some kind of, well, I mean, I guess there wouldn't have been any kind of interaction after you mean after he got out of the Sarlacc, right? So he got out of the Sarlacc, goes back to Jabba's palace. Right. He gets out of the Sarlacc, goes back to the palace. You're not going to believe what happened to me today. That guy knocked me into the freaking pit. How'd you get off the barge? Hey, Bib, how'd you get off the barge?
Is this 5 years later? Like, when did he escape from the? I guess we don't know the timing on all.
We don't know. Yeah, exactly. We don't know when he got out of the pit. We don't know how long he's been wandering around looking for his armor. So there's that too, right? So there's all kinds of stuff. So there's lots of places they can go. Now, I have a one issue I have kind of with this overall thing is that it's very clear that they're going to make Boba Fett the good guy, meaning the protagonist in this series, and he's always been a bad guy for us, right? As a kid, he was always a bad guy. You always had him fighting against Luke Skywalker when you're playing with the toys. So how do you feel about him becoming a good guy now?
It's sort of notable. The other thing is that even in the Return of the Jedi fight, he's kind of a victim of circumstance. His battling ability kind of like is instantaneously neutralized when coming face to face with those guys. And like he gets knocked in to the Sarlacc pit. We never really get a chance to see what he can do, to see him really fight. He collects Han Solo and Carbonite, but we don't get a sense of what his fighting style is or anything like that. So when you see the Mandalorian, it's like he's like a vicious, killer, like smashing the skulls of stormtroopers. And we have no reason to, or I guess we just haven't seen that before. So I think on one hand, it is kind of jarring to see him sort of have a different kind of viewpoint than what we imagine. But on the other hand, there's nothing really in Star Wars to suggest that none of this isn't true.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, because they have not done very much with the character. Yeah. There's not a ton they've done with the character, so there's a lot of possibilities. And I agree that seems very very possible. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Go ahead.
It's something we forgot to mention. I think that's Mando's voice at the beginning of the trailer saying,
I'm not a bounty hunter.
No, the throne thing.
Oh yeah,
about the blah 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 throne. I can't remember how the line goes. Isn't that the Mandalorian's?
I mean,
voice?
It could be. Yeah, it could be.
So we're gonna see at least the Mandalorian for a cameo.
Oh yeah, he'll show up. Will we see Baby Yoda?
No. I say no.
No.
I think Baby Yoda has to stay.
But Mandalorian thing.
This will have the effect of when we come back to the Mandalorian of the idea of the passage of time, which tells me that maybe Baby Yoda's finished training. Maybe.
Oh yeah, it could be. Yeah.
But however they choose to do it, it is very interesting. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they open with Bomar Monk from Return of the Jedi or his species just implies I just keep thinking about everybody that we saw in Jabba's palace and who could show up from that collection. That could be really interesting.
Those are my favorite figures, my favorite scene from the movie. My favorite part of Return of the Jedi is that last scene is pretty good too. I don't know. It's my favorite movie, right? My favorite Star Wars movie. So I love every part of that scene and those creatures. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
Oh yeah. And now that we know that Favreau and Filoni and now Robert Rodriguez, now that we know they're all, capable of great Star Wars stories and knowing the right amount to bring from the old stuff and the right amount of new stuff to bring in, it's just really interesting to see where they're taking this. Mm-hmm. It's it really is sort of exciting from a fan standpoint to just sort of see how are they, because they're fans too. Yeah. Just to see how are they handling this? Because they're doing it so well. So far, there's been hardly a misstep sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I think, and what we all wanted all along was to know what happened after Return of the Jedi. So it's great. This is the stuff that Star Wars fans have just been imagining and excited for a long time. So it's great. They get to be in the wish fulfillment business.
That's right. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Okay, so what I propose we should do now, and we talked about doing a rewatch, and initially I said we rewatch all 9 movies in order of release, and I don't think we should do it that way. What I think we should do now, because when we think about it, the last 3 aren't really relevant to this whole thing yet. We're just wanting to prepare for the Book of Boba Fett, so we don't need to watch the new movies. We don't need to subject ourselves to the Rise of Skywalker. So it's just an excuse for me to put off watching the Rise of Skywalker again. No, but we don't need to. And plus we don't have time. We don't have 9 weeks in which to watch every movie and discuss it on the podcast before the Book of Boba Fett. So what I propose we do is starting next week, we start with episode 1 and do episodes in order. That way we end with Return of the Jedi. which is the closest in the timeline to this. And that way we're kind of fresh on it. And every week, basically on Star Wars Nerds, we discuss the movie and then other stuff too. We'll talk about other movies, stories and stuff, but that'll be kind of the main point of discussion will be like our rewatch of The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones and stuff. I mean, Attack of the Clones will have lots of Boba and Jango Fett in it. So it's good to get a refresh on all this stuff.
Yeah. Totally. And I love rewatching it. I try to do it once a year and I haven't done it yet. So this is
there you go. And then after the new year, after the season's done, then we'll watch the new movies and then we'll finally do our recorded episode of the Rise of Skywalker. And
how about I guess we're not doing are we doing Solo and Rogue One or no?
At some point maybe. Well, we'll do. We did watch those together. We did record ourselves.
Yeah, but not on this. We're not doing it on this run through. No. Just the ones that came before the Book of Boba Fett. Just the first 6 films. Okay. Perfect.
Cool. All right. That sounds like fun. So before next week's episode, you have to watch the episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
I will do that.
That good?
I've seen it many times and I'm going to watch it again.
I'm going to turn it on and have it on in the background.
Come on.
No. I'll watch it. It's been a long time. It really has been like probably since the last time you and I watched it together is the last time I actually watched, which was probably at least 5 years ago at this point. More than that. So, all right. Anything else? Anything in the world of toys happening right now for Star Wars?
Oh, there's been Hasbro has announced a whole bunch of new ones. And it's just good. There's been supply chain issues across the board.
That's happening for everything.
Yeah, for absolutely everything. So it's not, I've sort of been on the down low on that collection stuff lately, but I'm still looking at what's being created and what Hasbro's announcing. They announced like a a 6-inch scale Rancor, I think.
Ooh.
That's going to be the next one where, I can't remember what they call it. Hasbro Choice or something where you need to sign up for it first. So they know they have enough people who are willing to pay for it before they make it.
Are you one of those people, Kenton?
Nah.
No, you're not going to sign up for it. You have a Rancor.
I have so much crap already that the last thing I need is giant Star Wars stuff. That's the last thing I need.
Do you have, is your Rancor like an original Rancor or is it a newer one?
It's original. It's from the original series. Yeah, it's
nice.
Got a broken finger on it. That's how you can tell it's from the original series. But it's I never cared really about the like that or the dewback or the wampa. Like I have those, but I never really considered them part of the figures. Like
they're just creatures. They're just monsters, right? Yeah, exactly.
The Die Hard figure was like the little ones that you could buy on a card.
Right.
Those were all the ones I wanted. I didn't really care about the creatures so much.
Interesting. All right.
They're not exciting. They don't have personality.
Exactly. Yeah. They don't have lines.
They don't have lines. And moaning.
All right, that's going to do it, I think, for this episode of the Star Wars Nerds podcast. We will watch, and you can watch along with us, The Phantom Menace. We'll discuss it next week. It's kind of like our movie club. It'll be like our Star Wars movie club.
Perfect.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the Force hit you on the ass.
This had better work.
I don't know. I can imagine quite a bit. We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Going to Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
TK421, do you copy?